I'm excited, actually. This is going to be a really good show. Hopefully sustain a nice show that people can get a lot of value from and get a lot of content and good information that can help them. And when I say help them, I mean the grassroots goalkeepers, people that we serve at the grassroots level. We're not with any club teams, college teams, pro teams. We have to build everything from the ground up. Everything is work, everything is merit. That's what makes our journey so beautiful. With that journey comes lots of challenges, lots of ideas, lots of opinions, lots of things that most other environments probably don't have to deal with, but we do. How do I get the message out to some of my parents who are learning for the first time, who are going through this maze, who are constantly being bombarded with new trends and new social media and new this, new that, the shiny object syndrome? How do I help them? This is how I'll help you. Stay tuned. How you doing? This is Coach Gabe. Today, we're going to be talking about managing our comfort levels for goalkeepers. When I say our comfort levels, I talk about a variety of different issues, topics, ideas about how we should be comfortable, when we should be comfortable. First of all, the disclaimer, before I talk about this, I want you to know, I want goalkeepers to feel comfortable. That's super important to me. We need to get them to a level where they do not feel insecure, where they don't have fear in playing, where they feel excited, actually, right? So we need to get them to a place of comfort. But what happens when we get them to a place where they're having a lot of fun, and now they're showing up to practices, and they're feeling like they know the people, they know the session, they know the things, they're so comfortable that in their place, in their zone, that they're no longer progressing, or their level of intensity has diminished. Their level of getting to practice and having an urgency has diminished. That right there becomes a problem. So we have to learn how to manage our comfort levels. We have to bring our goalkeepers back to a place where you still have room to grow. There's still people out there looking to compete with you. And there's still things you need to be learning and having the urgency to be sprinting after, right? So when I talk about comfort, we have to be comfortable at the games. We have to try our best to find that medium place of that's the word's not paranoia, but the word is urgency, I guess. That's the word I'll use. Urgency and comfort. We got to find the two in the middle. We have to find a place where we could find, a happy medium. You get to practice. Yeah, I want to talk to people. I don't want them to think I'm weird. I want them to know that I'm social. I can talk and communicate, but at the same time, I want them to know that I'm serious about my career, about my development, and I want to progress onto the next thing and move on and get through these activities that we're doing in a way that gives me the upper hand. And I want to do them in a professional way, because my next stop requires me to have that kind of mentality. And in order for me to build that kind of mentality, I have to train in this mentality. Love my kids, and if you're listening to me, you know who you guys are. But I want you to know that we have to find our level of comfort and urgency and maintain that. I don't want you, like I said, I don't want you to have fear based in your system either. I don't want you to think, oh, there's some people out there, I have to make sure I'm training with this fear of them. Who cares what they're up to? What matters is how you are progressing in your stage, and if you are consistently progressing in that stage. That's really what matters. And are you urgent about that progress? It doesn't matter what anybody's up to. What matters is how we are performing and how we are progressing in those stages. So when you show up to practice and you're not having that motivation, or that perceived motivation, because I talked about our identity, right? You come in, jokes all the time, and you're just, you're disruptive, and you can feel this level of comfort, right? That a strong environment, a consistent environment can provide you. But does that help you? Growth is an interesting thing. When you are growing, you are breaking down. If you go to the gym, you're lifting weights, you are breaking down those muscle groups in order for them to replenish and come together and create muscles. So it's being broken down. Sometimes you have to have that breaking down moment. and be put in different environments, be put in different against different teams, different high level goalkeepers or strikers that you're training against or playing against in games. You have to be feeling like you're not there yet in certain ways. You have to be feeling like you're constantly on this urgent mission to get yourself better. That's how it has to be. Get yourself clear about your mission before you go to practice. Get yourself clear with your training partners about what they're up to, right? If your conversations, I was at the movies all weekend and, boom, 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 before your practices, as opposed to, how did your game go? What did the goals look like? Those are the conversations you should be having at practices. If you want to have these social conversations, I get it here and there, fine. But like the majority of your conversation should be about how are you progressing, right? That's how I see things. The pros that I've worked with, their business that in the past, their business, they were just thinking about how they get better. They had an urgency, an internal urgency to get themselves to another place. There was a lot of these goalkeepers were out there looking for the same jobs in the same environments, right? Or similar jobs. And they never had fear of each other. They just knew that they had this internal urgency for their own development, regardless, because they knew that just having that own internal urgency was going to give them, better performing moments. And they also knew that by training with a good quality group, by being around like-minded individuals, that they were also going to continue growing. And that was humongous in those kind of environments, because they just knew they can get motivated from each other. If your conversation doesn't motivate the group that you're training with, you got to think to yourself, like, what am I doing here? Am I managing am I becoming too comfortable? Is my comfort level on my team that keeps on winning every weekend? Like, does that help me get comfortable? Is that keeping me comfortable? Is it a false reality that's being perceived with me? Because I know we're winning and that feels great, but these are also levels of comfort that we have to understand. We have to sometimes be outside the box when it comes to getting uncomfortable, right? If you want to play on a professional team or a high-level college university team, the opportunity might not be the one that you think is in your backyard all the time. It might be on a lower level team in another state, in another country. It might not be with the coach that you want. It might be in a different way, but that's the opportunity that might be presented for you, because maybe you can fulfill that role, right? And somebody perceives you to do that, but that might be uncomfortable, right? Is the convenience creating this comfort? Like, I have some students in the past that, they've thought about us in a very convenient way, right? It's like, you live right here, so, we go right here because it's like, okay, great. That's nice. I get it. Are we priority or are we convenience? Which is, I get it, proximity is power. So I understand that. But there are some families out there who are very uncomfortable throughout the week, who are moving differently because they're going to the place that they perceive to be the best. And they're going there in a very uncomfortable manner from far distances because they're trying to be the best. And that happens all the time and in a lot of different places. It's not very comfortable. And I see them, they are working hard, so you got to give them your all, right? That happens. I mean, they're building up a lot of different characteristics by doing this. Even professionals. I've had an experience as a youth soccer player, right? Yeah, it was like, we couldn't find good training. So what did we do? We went to South America. We lived in Ecuador for months at a time. And I was very uncomfortable. I didn't know the language as good. I think I understood it, but I didn't speak it as good. The culture was completely different. The style of play was faster. It was just a complete different, uncomfortable environment, which was completely like throwing me in the deep end of a pool, not really knowing how to swim. And I'll tell you, that was probably one of the most growth situations I ever did at a 15-year-old age. Because now, I'm working in environments that I'm not accustomed to, doing activities I'm not accustomed to with people who I don't speak their native language. And it's like, man, like you have to sink or swim, and you're broken down, your muscles hurt. Your mentality is like, I don't know what's going on all the time, or half the time you have maybe a false idea of what's happening, but you're still trying to figure things out. But that uncomfortableness, eventually you adapt to it. And when you adapt to an uncomfortableness, you become stronger. You're not having this fear of the unknown or of the uncomfortable. So that's really what I'm trying to have a conversation with all my students on this about, is, are we comfortable, or are we having a sense of urgency that can translate to our growth? Are we having a sense of push that translates to, some moments of inconvenience that could provide us the growth? You have to have faith in your endeavor. You have to have faith in your mission. You have to have faith that what you're doing is sending you on the right path. But you also have to understand, if you want to do big things, you will be broken down. And how we manage our comfort level will have definitely implications on our development at the long term. I wish everybody can get to the finish line, unscathed and really happy and the whole time. But the truth is, like, you're getting to the finish line with bruises, cuts, and sometimes you're dragging your feet getting to the finish line, because that's truly what happens in order to get to the certain finish lines in certain ways, because there's a fight for it. So if you're a person who needs to know how goalkeeping is, you're gonna understand it at the highest levels. It's not easy. Okay, comfort will not help you. Comfort will only create a delusion that you do not need to have. Get uncomfortable. Make sacrifices. Train more. Ask more questions. Watch more. Do things that you're not normally accustomed to doing. And manage a comfort level that's completely different and operating completely different from everybody else's comfort level. Eating Cheetos on the couch, right? Do something completely different. Be uncomfortable. Okay? Not fear, because it's not fear that should motivate you, even though it does motivate some people, which is, I don't think is necessarily a long-term thing, but it does in certain ways. But it's an assertiveness to your goals. It's you chasing your goals to the extreme levels and trying to get there by any means you can. That's truly how we manage our comfort, and having an understanding, like, am I comfortable right now? Are the people around me growing like I want to grow? Are the conversations we're having in growth? Having these conversations with yourself, these are the important ones. You know who I admire a lot? I admire the goalkeeper who's very uncomfortable. This is the goalkeeper who goes to the weekends, is on a team, lower level team. They're getting beat every weekend. They're with their team week in, week out. They're losing by a lot. There's a lot of action in the goal. Maybe the team culture is not as nice and as advanced as maybe some other teams are. And the environment is so uncomfortable. And the environment is not as comfortable as you see it, right? But they stick in there, right? They're still there. They're still fighting for the team. They're still trying to make saves. Goals go through. Now they're trying to make saves. They're being exposed to so much more situations in the goal, with so much uncomfortableness and clouds around the situation, but they stay all season. So if you're a parent out there, or you're a goalkeeper, youth goalkeeper, and you've been on a team like that, or in the middle of a season like that where you're just getting bombarded, like, I admire that, because it's not that I admire you losing. That's not the point. What I admire is the point that you're sticking it out, building this tough, resilient shell. That's what I admire, because you're not always going to be on a losing team. You're going to build strength from this. You're gonna be on a team where you just got all this experience, and now you're in a team that, or your team maybe shapes up and they shift. You get a couple new players, or they shift the way in which they play, and there's, now there's a change. Now you guys are building something together, but you withstood that storm. And people who could withstand storms in goalkeeping, those are the ones you see at the highest levels. You're never gonna see a goalkeeper who was there, whoever got to the highest level unscathed. Never, ever. They are there because they know how to withstand the highest storms. That's why they're there, because they know how to stay under pressure and they know how to continue to perform even under the worst circumstances. That's what makes them that difference. They know how to manage their comfort, and they know how to get to a place where they maintain the level of urgency. So with that being said, I wish you all well. I wish you to get uncomfortable if you're too comfortable, and to get yourself into a place that makes you amazing. I hope to see you on the next show. This has been a great experience having all these conversations with goalkeepers that I know, maybe goalkeepers I've never met. And we'll talk to you soon. Coach Gabe, I'm out.